This is 91.3 FM, WCUW in Worcester, the Dr. Chris Radio Horror program, and we are interviewing the author of 613, a Friday the 13th trivia book, and the author of the book is on the show with us now, Jean DeRosa, who painstakingly went through a long process to come up with the 700 questions inside this trivia book that recently came out last month. Thank you for coming on the show with us, Jean.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Where did the idea to put this trivia book together come from?
Well, originally a friend and myself had planned on doing a MASH TV trivia book.
MASH?
Things got delayed with that, so I said, okay, well, I'm going to keep myself busy and I'll go ahead and do a Friday the 13th book. It's always been like one of my favorite horror movies, so I went and checked the calendar to look for a decent release date and saw that the only Friday the 13th this year just happened to be Jason's birthday, June 13th, which is where the title comes from, 613. So everything seemed to line up perfectly, so I figured, okay, let's go ahead and do that.
It's the only Friday the 13th this year, is June 13th?
As far as, when I checked, it was the only one left.
Oh, yeah, that's...
The calendar that I checked, it was the only one left.
Huh. Usually you get a couple in a single year.
Yeah, every once in a while, and it seems that when it's June 13th, there's only one of them sometimes. Plus, there's also a full moon, so.
How did it get going? I mean, how did you come up with the 700 trivia questions?
Watching the movies lots and lots of times and going to tons and tons of websites. For the timeline alone, I think I had to go to over 100 different sites trying to see what everybody thought it was, and then I put together my own using my own logic and actual dates on the calendar. So, but I basically visited a ton of sites and watched the movies dozens of times.
Of the 12 films, which one would you have to say you probably had to watch the most over and over again?
Let's see. Probably part 3 or part 2, just to get all the details, like the name of the camp and the name of the stickers on Chris's van and everything. They're in there for all different sorts of bands and stuff. But some of them were I just had to sit there and just stare at the screen for a while.
What made those films so different than any of the others in terms of detail?
Well, I think there was just odd little things thrown in that some of the other ones didn't have. Like I said, I mean, on Chris's van, there's probably, I think, a dozen different stickers from bands like Led Zeppelin, and on the front it says like Ski Bunny on a bumper sticker, things like that. I mean, they're so small on the screen that I just have to sit and stop and watch again and again.
Of the 12 films, and you don't cover the TV series in there as well, right? Right.
Yeah, I left that out because to me it's not quite the same storyline.
Of course.
I figured that's something separate in my mind.
Even though they are now currently developing a Friday the 13th television series very much like Hannibal or Bates Motel, because they've been very successful.
Right. See, now that new series, to me, that would fit into the realm of this book. Because it's all about Jason and Crystal Lake and everything.
And the new movie has the most oddball release date of November 13th, 2015.
Yeah.
It's the first Friday the 13th to come out, they said, in the holiday season.
Oh, I didn't actually think of that, but yeah, you are right. It is the first one to come out.
Aha! See? There was a trivia fact you didn't know.
Well, wait, I mean, I knew all the release dates, basically, but I never really connected that none of them ever came out during the holidays.
Ah, but I still stumped you, though.
True. I can see that.
I mean, I think most of them have come out in the summer, with the exception of the remake that came out in February, right?
Right. That was February 13th.
Yeah.
I think they do the same thing now that I did, that I tried to do. Find a Friday the 13th that works.
I'm not entirely sure why they released it in February. My only thought is because Jensen Ackles and Jared Padalecki, the stars of Supernatural, both had horror films coming out, and they put one back to back with the other, even though they're different studios. One studio might have piggybacked on the other's success because of the brothers riding high. They were in the middle of like season 4 at the time, I think, which was one of their highest rated seasons.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they do have like a huge following.
Yeah.
For the TV show, and even online, like on Twitter and stuff.
Yeah, let's face it, that really obviously helped. That really helped it.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Out of the 12 films, what would you say is your favorite? And then, what is your least favorite?
Well, let's start with the least favorite. I think everybody seems to almost agree on that. That is Part 9, Jason Goes to Hell. It's just out there. Although, I mean, it does have its moments, because there's some good trivia in there, like some of the props that were used in Part 9
Yeah.
were used in previous films, or future films even. My favorite, I think, is, here's giving away a question from the book here. Jason's heart that was used in the beginning of Jason Goes to Hell
Yeah.
was also used in From Dusk Till Dawn. And Tom Savini's character actually got to kill the heart.
That's right. He stabs it.
So I mean that was a pretty cool twist in my opinion. But other than that, I mean the film just kind of stretches the storyline in ways that you never really thought about. And with Jason's hell baby jumping from body to body, it's just too far out there.
Yeah, Erin Gray has said in several interviews. In fact, when I met her in person, I asked her if she actually does feel that way. That when she found out that Jason is resurrected by going straight up into her vagina, she was mortified.
Yeah, I saw an interview of her somewhere where she said that she definitely did not pose for that scene.
Yeah, well, you can tell that is not Erin Gray, all kind of dead and dying when they show her, especially when she slumps over into the arms of the, what's his name? That's her stunt. And then, of course, in the basement, when she's lying there still dead, that's not her.
Right. Yeah.
And then, so what is your favorite film?
I'm sorry?
What's your favorite film?
My favorite, I've always said that it was Part 4, the final chapter.
It's everybody's favorite.
Growing up, it always seemed to be my favorite, but when I went back and watched all the films to do this book, I think, believe it or not, Part 8 may be up there. Jason Takes Manhattan. I know a lot of people hate that, but I think it's just the way that Kane Hodder had portrayed him in that one, and going in Times Square and all of that. And I thought that part was pretty cool. I mean, the part where most of the killing was on the boat was pretty lame, and that there was only like 10, 15 minutes or whatever on screen in New York because of the budget. But that's up there, and Freddy versus Jason. I know it's kind of more comedic than everything else, but it just seemed to work in my mind.
Well, it took a long time for that movie to get made, and then, you know, there's a lot of stuff surrounding that movie that people either love or don't love. I mean, the number one thing is that Kane Hodder didn't get to play Jason. That's obvious.
Right.
Okay, so we're past that. Number two, the director was the wrong director for that movie. Ronnie Wu or whatever his name was, is the wrong director for that type of movie.
Right. I would tend to agree with that. Plus, I mean, all the rewrites that they had to do and cut down the script. Originally, Jason Bateman was supposed to come in as Tommy Jarvis. And they had to cut all of that out because the script was too long. I mean, that would have been the part that I would have left in.
And they were supposed to do a sequel within a couple of years involving Ash, which eventually got turned into a comic book series.
Yeah.
Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, and Freddy versus Jason versus Ash, American Nightmare.
Yeah.
In fact, it actually ends on a great note to start it ends on a great note to start the remake series of both franchises, because Ash uses the Necronomicon to go back in time, turn over evidence, the missing evidence needed to indict Freddy Krueger and send him away to prison, so he doesn't make his deal with the Dream Demons, and then goes to Crystal Lake, and we can only assume he's probably going to Crystal Lake to stop Jason from drowning.
Right.
So, because it just kind of ends with him going to Crystal Lake in 1958. So, and then we just assume that obviously he's probably going to stop Jason from drowning, to stop everything from happening. So, yeah, and I was like, gee, could you imagine if they made that into a movie? Somebody goes back in time using time travel to stop the events and then negating the entire series from ever happening, and basically that would be the launching point for the remakes.
Yeah, that would have been pretty cool. I mean, they tried to shift time with Jason X, but in the other direction, and that didn't exactly work out. Although I have to also say, while we're talking about one of my favorite films, Jason X has grown on me too. I mean, I never really liked it originally, but after watching it again and again for this, there's so many good lines in it. I mean, I think I have three of the quotes in the book, but there's just so many good things that I liked about it, even though it was a ridiculous story.
Well, I got a couple of trivia questions for you, and one or two of them may not be from your book. I actually don't have my copy of the book with me. I put it out. I put it right on a stack of things to bring with me to the studio, and I forgot it. I was like, So, these questions may or may not be in your book, but they're to test your Friday the 13th trivia. What came first, Jason X or the TV series Andromeda?
Andromeda was first, and the two main characters were actually reversed from what they are in Jason X. One was an android and one was a human, and they switched roles for Jason X.
But if Jason X had come out when it was supposed to in 2000, it would have been Jason X.
Okay.
Because that got shelved for 2 years.
Right.
And it was because of the, at long last, finished script on Freddy vs. Jason that it finally came out.
Right, because they were delaying that, and they said, okay, let's move on with something else. Yeah.
Sean Cunningham didn't give a crap about the Friday the 13th franchise until Jason Goes to Hell. True or false?
Well, not so much that he didn't give a crap, I don't think. I mean,
he didn't want anything to do with that hockey mask.
Right. I mean, in the very beginning, but...
And gee, I wonder why... And then look at Jason Goes to Hell. There's no hockey mask most of the movie.
Right, because, I mean... But in a way, I think that was a big point for him to come back and have that be the film that he was reattached to. I mean, I think maybe his heart wasn't fully in it.
Jason's was. Ha, 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 ha.
Just to see the end story, I mean, it just doesn't seem to work.
What?
I mean, most fans agree. But.
What Friday the 13th movie features two Jasons?
Two Jasons?
No looking online or in that book now.
No. But can you elaborate on what you mean by two Jasons?
Which Friday the 13th movie has two... Sorry, did I say feature? If I said feature, I meant to say which Friday the 13th film has two Jason actors in it.
Two different Jason actors. Well, there's a couple, actually. I mean, Part 5 you really don't count because that was Roy, that wasn't Jason. But Part 6 the paintball scenes, while C.J. Graham did the rest.
No. I meant like an actor who actually played Jason. You know what I mean?
Oh. Okay. Now I know what you mean. Okay, part 8. Jason Takes Manhattan. Kane Hodder was Jason, and Ken Kersinger was the guy behind the counter in the diner in Manhattan, who comes out to stop Jason after he breaks through the front wall and gets thrown into a mirror.
Correct.
Okay. Sorry, I misunderstood the question.
Okay, that's all right. I probably should have rephrased it. Here's probably an easy one. Who's the only actor to appear in both the television series and the movie franchise?
John D. LeMay?
Yep.
John LeMay. Is there a D in it? I don't remember now.
And that is why Jason X is such a fun film to watch, because of the fact he was a great character on the TV series.
Right.
You know what's funny is I've had Shawnee LeMay on not Shawnee the female, his cousin, the female character from Friday the 13th, the series.
Okay.
Louise Roby.
Right.
I've had her on the show twice, and they couldn't get her for the documentary that came out recently, Crystal Lake Chronicles. She was too busy to be able to do it. They tried twice to get her, and when the guys came on the show, I was like, guys, I've had her on the show twice. And they're like, well, you're not the only person, you're not the only horror host to say that to us. They were like, you couldn't get Louise Roby, and we were like, we couldn't get a hold of Louise. She's got a huge singing schedule in Europe.
Wow.
Yeah, she's a pretty big singer in Europe. I mean, she's got no acting career anymore, but she's pretty big in the European tour concert scene.
Right.
She actually invited me out to her. She actually invited me out to stay at her villa in France.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah, she said if you're ever in France with a friend or your girlfriend, come stay at my villa. I'll get you in touch with my manager, and he'll get you a set of keys.
Cool.
Yeah, that was a couple of years ago, so I need to remind her about that.
So that's a show up on the doorstep one day.
Hey, remember me? We've only talked on the radio. Now, does the book cover any of the expanded universe fiction, such as the Wildstorm, Avatar, comic book series, or any of the books?
It does. It doesn't have a lot of trivia from the books or the comic books, but there are tables that list every title that was released, what company it was released by, who the author was, and all of that.
Did you know a set of
actual trivia?
A set of Jason versus Leatherface comic books can go on eBay for like $300.
Wow. No, I did not realize that.
A set of Jason Goes to Hell comic books, which was the other series that Topps produced, could go anywhere from $25 to about $150 on eBay.
Not bad.
I scored issue 1 and 3 for like $1 a piece almost on eBay. The bids just didn't go anywhere, but some of the auctions people pay attention to, and some auctions people don't,
Right.
It all depends on who's looking for what at what point in the world.
Exactly. It's all a matter of putting the right people in front of it that'll start a bidding war and push the price up.
Let me tell you, the covers of those comics, though, the Jason Goes to Hell ones, have they definitely portray Jason a lot more on those covers than he was in the movie. The first cover has a glow-in-the-dark mask. The second cover is of him attacking the female busty FBI agent. And the third cover is him being pulled down to hell. So, so again, they're covering a lot more of Jason on the cover than they are actually probably in the story itself.
Right. Elizabeth Marcus, by the way.
It was the FBI agent. Yep. That was the other. I had two other really good questions to try and stump you with. What is the name 2 characters from Friday the 13th that were in the films, interacting with other characters, and never died? And what of the 12 films did they come from?
That were interacting with one another?
These characters, now just pay close attention to what I'm saying. the characters. You can interpret that however you will. Name at least two that were in the cast and did not get killed by Jason or his mom. And that the police don't count because the police kind of come and go throughout the series. So, I mean, I know police get killed sometimes. Like, the main female's characters, the sheriff in part 6 gets obviously bent over backwards by Jason. But, there's other scenes the police obviously live through. So let's keep the police out of it.
Okay. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is in part 5, where Pam Roberts, Reggie the Reckless, and Tommy Jarvis all survive.
Okay, let me rephrase this. I'm trying to make this as hard as I can, and I'm probably not phrasing it correctly. Think about character besides Last Girl Standing. Let's just say that.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's leave the last girl or last guy, because obviously there's at least a guy in every movie that lives. Tommy being one of them, or Reggie. Last girl or guy standing. Other cast members that have lived. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't phrase it that clearly. You're better at your trivia questions are usually like one line and that's it.
Let's see. Everybody died but Alice. Part 2.
Okay, so one of them, and I gotta edit out the air time. The in part 2 they leave one of their campers at the bar.
Oh yeah. There were some campers that were left behind in the city.
Counselors, sorry. Obviously all the kids lived in part 6. And
right.
The dog, the Jarvis dog lived. He jumped out the window.
Yeah.
He probably saw Mom dead in the bathtub and said, "I'm getting the hell out of here."
Well, actually,
because you never see Jason kill the dog. You see the dog jump out the window, but let's face it, that wouldn't kill a dog.
Right. All the dogs actually live in the series, except for maybe Muffin. Muffin's questionable in part 2.
Yeah, unlike Michael Myers, who strangles a dog to death in Halloween.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but actually, Kane Hodder, in one interview for about his 4 movies, he in Jason Takes Manhattan, when he climbs up out of the water into Manhattan in the warfare, he was supposed to kick the dog when it came up to him, and he basically flat out told producers and the director, Jason wouldn't do that, so we're not going to do that. So they had to eliminate that scene.
Which actress from the Friday the 13th series actually had a real-life stalker that prevented her from doing any more film acting?
Adrienne King. They wanted her to come back and have a bigger role in part 2, but she said that she wanted limited screen time because of it.
Yep, and then she didn't return until the last several years.
Right.
Because someone told her.
She's actually an excellent artist, too. Have you seen any of her work?
Yeah, she's brought it to conventions with her.
Oh, that's right. You actually had her on the show. I remember seeing her on the list.
Yep, I've had her on the show, and I've gotten stuff signed by her. She was supposed to come back on when Crystal Lake Chronicles came out, but the another book had come out recently, and she wasn't really interested in doing interviews. It was the A Day in New Jersey, Friday the 13th book. There's some controversy surrounding the author and Adrienne King and a couple other people.
Okay.
Some basic kind of drama BS.
Right.
So some things were said that some people didn't like to hear, or some things were exploited that weren't true. I don't know the full story, but it's basically tabloid Hollywood BS.
Right.
So that's the way I kind of said it to the publisher, who also published the Kane Hodder book.
Right.
So it's kind of like what I described it as, and he pretty much agreed. He's like, "Yeah, that's fine. I mean, if you don't want to go into it," I was like, "If you wouldn't mind not kind of repeating anything," I was like, "No, I'll just call it Hollywood tabloid horror BS."
Right.
Did you have to dig up a lot of interviews in like Fangoria and watch all the documentaries and did you watch every film with the commentary and everything else as well?
No, actually I didn't. I just watched the raw films. I watched part one uncut, I believe.
Okay.
But the rest were just the actual theatrical releases.
Well, part 1 and part 9 are the only two that are actually uncut, so.
Okay.
Yeah, don't forget, every one of those films has had problems or whatever, and fans have died for years trying to get an uncut version of those films.
Right.
I mean, Halloween fans are getting their wish soon when Halloween 666, The Curse of Michael Myers, finally comes out officially in HD on Blu-ray.
Is that the box set that's coming out?
Yep, and the only way you can get the producer's cut in HD and not a convention copy with crappy lighting is with the box set.
Oh, okay.
The box set will have that film will also have commentary and interviews with Paul Rudd because it's his first film.
Oh, okay.
He did it a year before Clueless.
He was pretty good in Clueless, actually.
Well, hey, Gene, it's pretty much all the time we got tonight. You also have a Halloween book that you're currently working on coming out soon, and I wish you the best of luck with that, and maybe we'll have you back on the show if we can to talk about the Halloween book when it comes out. Give away the website that people can order the 613 book.
Yes, it's shop.samson, SAMSON, publishingcompany.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Gene, for coming on the show, and thank you for sending us a copy of the book. We've really enjoyed it.
I'm glad you enjoyed it, and thank you very much for having me.